Welcome to the Quality Under Pressure podcast, a podcast that reminds you that a conversation is still a beautiful thing. My name is Min, and today I am speaking even the liberate the states conversation. Aren't these the people that are all for states' rights? And then all of a sudden, this guy on the federal level says, like, "Hey, you should do something about this," and people are like, "You're right." Like let's listen to the federal government and like not do what the state government wants to do. And so like there's no consistency there, and it's like now it's like, yeah, get out and like live your normal lives. You want to open up the country, want to open up the economy, but like in your hypothetical situation where, come voting time, if Trump were to say like, you can't go out and vote right now, it's too dangerous, they would flip-flop on that. They would
Yeah.
flip-flop in that moment and be like, you're right, he's trying to look out for us, so we can't even like go out to the polls.
That I think that is a really good point. That illustrates exactly the conversation that we've been having forever. Is the states' rights talking point? No one believes it. No one actually believes it. It's just like the same talking point that they've used to justify like slavery. Like it's the longest talking point in American history. No one believes it. Like all these conversations that like we have with like these like right-wing people that we talk to online, they don't actually like fucking believe these things that they're saying. They care about power and they know what power means. Whereas like people like us, I think we like actually legitimately are trying to fight on principle. But the problem is that at the same time, like all the liberal people that like, agree with us on a lot of things also don't actually fucking believe in the things that they're talking about, because like all of them were all like, like you got to believe women, and all of a sudden like when they're like person who they're putting up to be president is credibly like accused of rape, they don't care about it anymore. Like that's the whole conversation that we've been having for fucking forever. No one actually cares.
Yeah.
Like it's all about power. And the left, I think, actually does care, but we don't understand power. And so we're just over here in this corner, like screaming like little infants, and we can't do anything. And even like we have the most popular politician in America, and he can't get him elected.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I've been hearing, I've been voicing, I don't know what I'm gonna do in November, and more and more and more people have been telling me like your first priority should be to vote against Trump. And I don't know, it's just not that easy to me. Like I wish it was, but I have to think about this a little bit more. I actually haven't thought a whole lot about, Bernie endorsed Biden. Have you guys thought about that enough where like,
Yeah, I have. I mean, so last election, I wasn't going to vote for Hillary. I knew Minnesota, I wasn't really having to worry, but I voted Green Party. Um, Looking back, though, having Trump as president, if I were in North Carolina, if I were in Wisconsin, if I were in Michigan, that a vote for third party was the reason Trump got elected. And with the system we have right now, the Electoral College does not allow a third party to be viable whatsoever. It would just fuck everything over. So I feel like there are two options, and that's how our political system plays it. And even though Biden is everything against what I would vote for, like it just unequivocally, he just does not check the boxes at all. He is that much better than Trump. And I feel like Bernie knows that. There was an AOC interview that came out where she basically said, I can't really vote for this guy, but I feel like I have to, because getting Trump out of office is more important than having him in office any longer. And whether it be, I mean, Biden will do stuff that will help our cause much more than Trump ever would. So it's still having a voice to say the DNC has fucked up. They need to reach across to all of those progressive voters and give reason to do that. I think AOC spelled that out pretty well in her article, where people need to feel uncomfortable. Like, if Biden's not uncomfortable with the things that he's saying, you're not going to get the votes, period. So I think we still need to have that conversation, be very loud about it. But I think 4 more years of Trump will be so detrimental to the future of humanity and Americans in general that I don't feel like there's any option. Like, Biden has to be my vote.
It's
I just it's so heavy. It's
yeah,
so heavy.
it's like I think the more interesting part for me is like we're having the stupidest possible election where like the guy who wrote the 1994 crime bill is our supposed savior against a fascist. Yeah. The guy who was the vice president during the administration that deported more people than any other administration in U.S. history, he is our savior against this racist who wants to build a wall. The guy who was the vice president in the administration that brought George Bush's wars, his 2 wars, to 7 wars, administration that dropped 26,571 bombs during its last year on 7 different countries. This guy is the person who we're going to put up against Trump, who's supposed to be like the unhinged guy who's going to create World War III, like, and possibly will. I don't know. But like it, how are we in this situation where literally after 2016, I was like, how could they have found someone worse than Hillary to run against Donald Trump? And they did it.
And that's the thing. Biden is further right than Hillary was on a lot of things. And to think that the DNC lost because they didn't have the progressive votes, there's no reason that should ever be the case. And it's stupidity. And the one thing that I see is that it probably plays into, it doesn't really matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican. The corporations who are running things, the overlords, whatever it be, the people who are out to make more money and have a better chance in life, they're pulling the strings. And it doesn't really matter if Trump's still president. Like, if the working class suffers, there's still going to be more of them. Like that. It's almost like, like the Chinese mentality. Like, that's how they ran their country for a year. Like, people are disposable. It doesn't matter. Run them into the ground, and there's only going to be more.
And the DNC did that with their voters. They're like, you guys want to go vote in a pandemic and probably die, get sick, and there's not enough ventilators. Yeah, go vote for a guy. And then they're like, we got some more getting older. Like, we'll be fine. Like, if a couple of our voters die, a couple thousand, 100,000 of our voters die because we send them out to vote in a pandemic, it's fine. We'll get some more. Like, they just do not give a shit about us. None of them do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with, I understand what you were saying earlier, Matt, about how Biden is to the right of Hillary. But I'm going to push back a little bit because I don't think Biden is anything to anybody. That's my issue with him, is like, anytime I've seen him speak, he's kind of like Trump in that way, where whatever's in front of him is what matters most. And so like he'll just say whatever needs to be said in that moment, and he has no backbone. And that's one of the most concerning things about me, or about him. And so like, people are saying like, well, he's moving left. Like, people are celebrating that, like, he's moving left right now, and he's trying to adopt some of the things that Bernie has pressured him on, and just like, because he has to. I have no idea if he believes in those things actually. And so like, this guy is like such an amoeba, and like, one day, like you said, like, he'll write a crime bill and that's racist, and then like, then he'll be in front of like a church and talk about like Martin Luther King and how much he loves black people, and just like this guy will say anything. And I don't like the thing in his defense, I don't think he's doing that like in a malicious way. I think he thinks he has really good core values, and I I I do think he wants to help people, but I just don't think he knows anything. So like he'll like if something's sparkling in front of him, he'll be like, "Oh, that's how I help people," and he'll like just go that direction without knowing like that's not the actual solution.
I don't know why this came to mind, but do you guys remember at the last at the 2016 convention where after they nominated Hillary, they had some balloons fall from the sky, and Bill was just going around like poking them?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That like that's to me that's Biden
Yeah.
like as well, just like poking balloons in the sky, just so happy because like they both lost their minds and like yeah, I think whatever's in front of him at this point he will go for. And
Yeah.
like, you know, to be honest, I'll probably vote for him. I know I'm going to be in Minnesota now for election, and so like Minnesota is a lot more, you know, a lot closer than they were than in previous years.
So surprising.
Yeah, yeah. And like if we had a left wing movement that could actually um, do something by saying we're not going to vote for Biden, but like our two biggest leaders have already gave up the game. Like Bernie and AOC have already said like, yeah, we're going to vote for him. So like, what power do we have, you know, in any real sense of the word to be like, no, we're not going to vote for you. Like, it's not going to get us anywhere, and we're just going to get blamed for it. So like at this point, until we have more power, like
I guess what I was trying to get at too was those people that do have the power and that we look up to in the progressive movement, they're saying it's more important than our pride or whatever it be. So that, I mean, that's where like I just can't get by not voting for him, even though I don't think it's going to be the best for the country, but it will be better than Trump. And I think
I think they were wrong. Like, I think if Bernie and AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Ro Khanna had all banded together and said, like, you know what, we're done with this. Like, you guys have treated us like shit forever. You have never actually stood up for the workers of this country, and so we're going third party. Like, we're gonna do it. I think that would have been a better way to go. Whether they win or lose, it changes things because they actually have the people behind them to do it in a way that like the Green Party has never been able to do it.
yeah.
But the fact that they didn't do it puts us in a different situation, a different reality where we just don't have the power to like do anything with a vote of abstaining from Biden.
There are two words that stuck out to me as you guys were talking: pride and blame. It's too easy for me to say, you know, I've thought about this in a long game format. And so like I'm thinking about, you know, how do I burn this to the ground, and so we can like actually build something that works for people. And so that's sort of my long game view on it. Yeah, I it's too easy for me to say like pride has nothing to do with it, but like pride blinds. And so maybe, yeah, maybe it is for me like pride coming into it a little bit too, and I can't say, you know, that's definitely not it. So pride is a thing. I'm thinking about the long game and kind of like just exactly what you were saying. Like, you know, this would be the context would be different if some of the leaders had decided to go a different way. Um, but the long game looks a little bit more murky in the context that we're in now. But when you said blame, that made me think, you know, like if we don't hop on board and things don't go right and we get 4 more years of Trump, then the blame is going to be put on us. But I think there's going to be a level of blame put on us even if Biden wins, because then it's like, you know, this would have been easier. Like, why weren't you guys here sooner with your full support? Like, it really doesn't matter what happens. Like, this group of voters, this group of people I mean, it's going to be easier if Biden wins, because then it's just like the heat that we feel and the degree of blame it's going to be easier for the establishment to move on. They're going to blame us for a hot second, and they'll be like, but fuck it, we got what we want anyways. And so,
Mhm.
like, they're just going to remind us, like, fall in line quicker next time. But even if they win, they're going to remind us about that. And just like, what more like, we can't voice that, we're slightly skeptical, and like, let's pump the brakes and like sort through the details a little bit. Like, if even if we do what we're doing right now, there's going to be blame even if Biden wins. And so, like, that's why this is getting so murky and difficult for me. It's like, you're going to blame me anyways. Fuck it. Like, let's think about the long game and think, like, what can we do to, like, actually shake the core and wake people up? And I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that all plays out.
I think in this election, I don't think there's anything we can do. Like, I don't think, like, we don't have the institutional power right now. Like, we bet on Bernie, and I love the man. He made his decisions, and so we got to roll with those. I think that going forward, it, like, okay, imagine Joe Biden wins this election. Do either of you know what his response to the coronavirus is? Like,
Trump.
he could be saying right now, give everybody, like Rashida Tlaib's proposals, give everybody a card and load it with $2,000 every month. There's no reason he couldn't be saying that. He doesn't even have to believe it, but like, he could just be saying that because, like, he's got to have something to go up against Trump. But like, so like, if he wins, is there any like hope that he does anything for America
That'll be
makes
accountable.
people have more confidence in the liberal establishment and the DNC? Like, I think what we have to do is start preparing right now for the fact that if he wins, he's going to fuck up so monumentally that it is going to put the left in the place where they are the only viable opposition to the Donald Trump style of politics in this country. And I think that's where we have to gain our power. Like, we just have to like go out, vote for him, and then kick his ass.
I didn't think about it that way.
I just thought about it right now.
But are you saying, like, kick his ass in such a way that they're going to vote, like, people would want to vote for a Republican 4 years later, or kick his ass in such a way that if he doesn't like bend to the left, there's no chance he would get, like, then he could be reelected if he allows it to happen. I guess I'm not following.
But also, how do you do one without the other? Like, optically, we kick his ass and we talk about all the stuff that he's doing wrong,
Right.
and that just adds fuel to the other side.
I think it's like the risk we have to take. Like, we have to just be honest. Like, if the left had gone hard against Obama from the beginning, I think the Democratic establishment right now wouldn't have an ounce of the power that they have. Like, we just let Obama destroy the working class. We let him, like, in the bailout, like, just hand over like tons of money to the banks while doing nothing for homeowners. Basically, like, TARP was shit. Like, no, like, hardly anyone got anything from that. Like, so like, I think if we just like are honest about Biden's record, separate ourselves from it, like, yeah, the right's going to use that some way, but they're going to use it anyways. Like, that's the whole thing about, like, when like people are like, we can't criticize, like, back in the beginning of the primary, you can't criticize Joe Biden because he's the front runner, and the Republicans are going to use that, in the general, like, it, like, they're not like dumb. Like, the consultants running the Republican Party are not dumb. They're going to use those things anyways. Like, if Joe Biden tries to cut Social Security, if we like, or he did do that, if we don't talk about it, it's not like they're not going to talk about it. So, like, I think we talk about it. We'd be really honest about it, and we draw contrasts, and then let the chips fall where they will. It might give the Republicans some more power, but it also will destroy the Democrats because he's going to be inept. He is an inept person right now. His brain doesn't work.
No, it sounds like he's trying to get 3 sentences out simultaneously. I will vote for him if he promises fireside chats every week, and we can just watch the comedy gold that just happens in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that deal.
I don't know. Just listening to this though makes me so much more not want to vote for him. But
But actually, listening to you two talk about it too, that gives me confidence that maybe I should just nut up and commit to voting for him. I don't know. It's like, I think you guys would understand too if I said it's going to take until October for me to fully flesh things out and think about it. But yeah, man, it's tough. It's super tough.
Yeah, I might have the opposite. Like, I might have the opposite opinion next week. I mean, maybe I'll just say like Elizabeth Warren, I need some self-care. I need to, some time for myself, and it's going to take until November 12th, like, or the day after, whatever the day after the election is, before I figure out what I want to do.
we already backed him, so
yeah. Okay,
man.
The other thing about the endorsements. Out of the 3 power players in the Democratic Party outside of Biden, there's Barack Obama, there's Warren, and there's Bernie. Who endorsed Biden first? It was Bernie.
Yeah.
Bernie endorsed Biden before Warren or Obama.
Oh, I was not going to guess that. Is that true?
Yeah.
Barack Obama was like 2 days later, and then Warren was a week later.
Yeah,
it's the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Obama couldn't come forward and endorse him right away when it was his vice president means he has holdups that Biden is not good for the country.
He literally said, "Joe, you don't have to do this."
Ringing endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, part of me too doesn't want to vote for him because I think if the DNC couldn't realize that Hillary was the wrong choice when so many people, were wanting Bernie to be there, and they just didn't matter and went and said, we have to get one of these guys in the front, and Biden ended up being that guy. Like, even if he loses terribly to Trump, I don't trust that in the next 4 years they would put somebody forward that would matter. Yep. And that's where I start thinking it's more just like the corporatist, like, there's 2 parties, they're going to keep the status quo, and that's what's wanted. Like, there's no, helping the working class is only helping the working class. It's not helping those rich people that pull the strings or have lobbyists that pay people to keep staying in office. And start calling it, sounding like a conspiracy theorist in a little way, but yeah, it's what this 2-party system does to us.
Yeah. I mean, it's George Carlin said, it's a big club and we aren't in it. I've
definitely been realizing I don't belong in any clubs. It's kind of a bummer. It's cool to be in, but sometimes, you just, if you don't agree with what's happening, you're just not in any clubs. Man, can you believe? So the question that kicked off this entire section of the conversation is, what are some of the things that you've been observing? And I guess I did frame it on, what are some of the stupid like your stupid friends doing that you've been observing? And it sent us down this entire rabbit hole. keeping an eye on the clock and knowing that I have one more question. And we did talk about some of it already too. But what do you think the new normal will look like when this is all over?
Whew.
You want to go first, Laine?
I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
everything is so new and different. I
So,
think,
sorry.
yeah, go ahead, because I'm
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I'm kind of playing off of what you're saying. I mean, there's just a lot of uncertainty in things, but I feel like all these things, especially like Bernie was talking about Medicare for all and just different programs to help the working class. I feel like all of these things have come to light. We don't have a fallback for hospitals. We don't have, a supply of masks and all this stuff to dip into like we should. There's all these things that Bernie has talked about for years and years. Um, I feel like all those things have come to light, and everybody in the nation know there needs to be a change. But I feel like the new normal is still the normal, where nothing's really going to change. We'll go back to what things were before, and I don't feel like the things that we know have come to light aren't really going to be something that changes for the future.
I think once we're through social distancing, one of the most, I already feel it coming. There will be a moment where I'm just in a normal store and everything feels normal, but it's not, because even the shred of power that workers had will be further stripped. Like, income inequality is going to exponentialize from this. And when we come out of it, it's not going to feel that way right away. It's just going to be a sense of relief that, like, we can go back to like our normal stores and our normal like way of living, but like
Right.
everybody's, going to be a little bit poorer and have a little bit less power in the economy and in the government, except the people that are already on the top. And so I think uh, what I see coming out of this, to go back to the pessimism of the intellect and the optimism of the will, is things are going to be worse for us. No matter, like, that's just the way it's going to be. That's the way the law is being written right now. That's it, and that's all. But we are going to have a new sort of solidarity with one another. People are seeing right now that grocery store workers are indispensable, that they are valued people in this economy, that all workers are valued people in this economy, because the second people stop working, the economy it went to shit. And so, like, we're going to have this sense of solidarity that we need to go forward with this, and we need to take that optimism of the will and say, like, hey, we can do something better, and we need to move on it. We need to take political power. We need to start organizing locally, because I don't think we're going to have an opportunity like this again for a long time. And it's going to suck because it's going to be with the least amount of resources that we've ever had. But we got to do it. We got to move forward with it. And that's got to be what the new normal is. But it's not just going to be it. We got to make it the new normal.
Damn. There's a lot. There's a lot there. You guys definitely took it different directions than I thought. I was thinking, because like even what you just said, Lane, it started out super pessimistically. Like, they, as in the wealthy, the establishment, are gonna leverage the shit out of this, and we're gonna end up with less than even on the front end of the pandemic. But then you brought in that silver lining of like, no, but yes, we're going to have less, but we have the solidarity and the emotional energy to act if we do it. While you were saying all of that, because my original position was the status quo is so strong, and just like any status quo bias for like human beings, like once we get back to the normal, we're going to be so grateful that we've gotten back to that place. I was mostly thinking, nothing comes out of this. So I hope that you're right. I hope that the solidarity kicks in, the emotional energy kicks in, and we think like, if we're ever gonna strike, this is the time that we do it. So that just juxtaposition is interesting. Where I thought, people are just gonna be so happy that they can go to the bar again. Like once things go back to normal, it's gonna just. I just felt like it's gonna be over. And then like if we ever do cry for help and like demand more, man, I don't know, man. It's just so annoying when people can just say, "But think about the economy," and
Mhm.
that just minimizes people and instills fear in people. They're like, "You're right. If the economy's not stable, then like there's no prosperity." It's just like anytime we try to fight for anything, and the minimum wage, better working conditions, it just seems like people just say, "But the economy can't sustain what you're asking for," and people just wither back, man. It's so I don't know. I don't know. I'm glad that you think there's a possibility to strike with the iron's hot. Um, but I was thinking,
I
no.
think it's like it's not just a possibility; it's an imperative.
Yes.
Like we like honestly, I think the future is so bleak that like we are at an unprecedented point where like the capitalist beast is so goddamn strong right now. Like I don't if we don't take it right now, I don't think we're going to have another chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry to be a prophet of doom, but
I'm
Oh,
right
but
there with you.
that's why I think there was radio silence after that, because just like, what am I gonna say to that? Like if it's true, if it's true, it's true. Like
yeah.
I don't have a counterpoint to that.
So and just I think as much as we can be localizing in the communities we're in, and um, do what we can to wake people up to it. And I think we're going to have to cross some lines with people we don't disagree with or that we don't agree with always politically. But like, I think if we can take on the same battle right now, like I think we're going to need to do that because I think there's going to be a lot of like Republican people who realize this is really fucked up, and like we're going to need them. Like, not that we're going to like compromise our values, but
I don't think you have to. I don't think. I mean, to me, like when I think about certain Republican friends, like economically, they're no different than my position. We might have some, I think, where we're different is social values. But like a lot of Republicans too, I find over and over, when a Republican has a gay friend but not a Mexican friend, they're pro gay, but they're not pro like immigrants, and then vice versa. There's just so many times it just feels like, like they haven't made that connection.
mm-hmm.
They don't know someone from a certain population, and it's just like they're foreign. They're the they, and so like once they get introduced to things, they're not. I don't know. I just don't think Republicans are that much different than us. It's a facade, man. It's just a weird bullshit thing that we're doing.
Yeah, and the reality of this economic crash and the coronavirus is there's not going to be anyone that doesn't know somebody affected from it, and so like that's why like while that feeling is still hot, like we gotta go for it. Like everybody's going to be mad when this is all said and done, and we gotta harness that for good instead of
Yeah.
bad.
Yep. Yep. Matthew, any final thoughts?
I just, I, I hate the feeling of the doom and gloom. Like we started this out like a decade ago. We were all so much more,
Were we though?
um, yeah. I'm just so worried where we are in history. Like a decade ago, I was like so ecstatic to be living in the time we're living in because technology is the best it's ever been. Like the ability to travel anywhere in the world was at our our fingertips, clicking a ticket to buy an airplane ticket somewhere. I just you know it just scares the shit out of me, like how things can just stop dead in their tracks, and the people that are running things right now don't really give a damn if all three of us pass away from this virus, because they're still going to have their penthouse and golf course and all that shit, and there'll just be more of us that can come work once we die. Like I just
A positive note to end on: modern day slavery. Oh man, well, I knew it was going to be a vibrant conversation. I want to thank both of you guys for not only making time to actually record something with me, but we've been talking once a week over the last couple of weeks since this whole thing started, and that has been my therapy, especially after Bernie suspended his campaign, and to have Laine start that entire conversation with, like, this is not the end. Don't look down too much, and like, we gotta, I mean, you even like highlighted it at the end of this conversation. We gotta move forward. We have to strike while the iron's hot. And just to always have you remind me that that's something that we need to do. It's uplifting, it's inspiring, and I don't know, it feels like whenever you do say stuff like that, it makes me feel like there is a chance. So like, we talked about modern day slavery, but there is a chance.
There is a chance, and I'm crossing my fingers, praying to God.
No, don't do that, Matt.
I mean, I'm still right there. I do feel all those things. Not to leave it all negative like that at the end, but it's just still so disheartening.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys again for hopping on.
Thank you,
man.
Yeah, you can connect with the Quality Under Pressure podcast at QUP Podcast on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Quality Under Pressure. Our email is qualityunderpressure@gmail.com. Catch you next time.